So welcome to another episode of Paul's Asian Adventure. Or just Pa, but not Grandpa, okay? In this episode, I wanted to talk about the dangers of moving a girl in too quickly into your place. Here in the Philippines, that is. And there are multiple dangers, both to your physical health and dangers in the law, that can land you in either prison or deportation. With that warning, let's get started. One of the things I see over and over here in the Philippines when it comes to dating is what in the West we would define as a mismatch, meaning an old guy, let's say 50 to 65 years old, with a young, sexy, slim Filipina, let's say 25 to 30 years old. In the West, if you do such a mismatch, you automatically assume the guy is extraordinary, meaning he might be rich or a musician, or have some other unusual attribute that women are attracted to. However, if this is an average guy, then you know the average older guy will fight for his woman like no tomorrow. He would feel like he's the luckiest man in the world. He feels like he's a superstar, and people around him might just assume that he's an actor or a musician or rather rich to have this type of relationship. That is basically how the average guy would feel in the West, where men live in a state of starvation when it comes to love and relationships. An average man in the West in his 50s is with a fit woman under 30. Basically, he looks like a winner. However, this is a big however. Here in the Philippines, it is different. I have mentioned this many times, but it's worth emphasizing. For the most part, you are the prize here in the Philippines. The dangerous part is a disconnect between the knowledge and the way expats act when they come here. When expats come here, they might know this fact mentally from watching YouTube videos, but they don't believe that. They don't believe it in the heart of heart. Like I said, this is basically a disconnect between knowledge and action. And tragically, this can bear out over and over again in forms of heartbreaks, financial scams, and involvement of the law, which is never a good thing. As this is not your country, and you never know how these things can end. And this is where the crux of the problem lies. Let's say you are chatting with a Filipina, and you like her a lot. Everything is going well, and you are moving here. Then of course, you make the first mistake of meeting her at the airport. Then you make the second mistake of moving her in shortly after arriving to the Philippines. Well, she will say yes to move in. It's almost guaranteed. Remember, for her, moving in with you is a big savings. She will have no more expenses for rent, no more expenses for food. She will have internet. She will have aircon. She will have free trips all over the Philippines if you are traveling. Really, why would she say no? The problem arises when things don't go well, and in many cases, they don't go well. For the simple reasons, you did not really know her when you moved her in. You did not understand the culture, or you might realize you can do better, or you decide you want to live the bachelor life after arriving here in the Philippines. The problem is now asking her to move out. How exactly do you get rid of her? If she refuses to move out, how do you get rid of her? Let's look at this towards the end of the video, and I'll give you some examples. The other bad incident I've seen are of expats who actually live here in the Philippines and should know better. They might have already been here for a few months or even years when they meet a girl that they like a lot. Then after a few dates, they decide to move them in. And by few dates, I mean less than 10 or 5. No matter how nice and accommodating the girl seems, you actually know nothing about her. Once you move her in, well, that's when things can change. And they can change drastically. Her jealousy will come out, and she might try to control your life. Many bad sides that is, will eventually come out. Things you can maybe tolerate, and things that will drive you to the point where you want to break up. Then again, the problem is how to get rid of her if you want her to leave. I have seen expats move girls in too quickly because they are in love. Then a few months down the line, they meet another girl that they like better. Again, the question arises, how do you get rid of that girl living in your place? Many things can go wrong. Sometimes the girl will get violent. Other times they will just refuse to leave. These are a few of the stories I've heard directly from people who live here. One guy, he lived in a condo and wanted to break up with this girl, but she refused to leave. He had only been with her for less than, I think it was 2 weeks, and she absolutely refused to leave. He had to eventually call security and let them know that he had an unwanted guest that refused to leave. Even when security came, she hung onto a table, screaming that she was not leaving. Basically, security had to drag her out, kicking and screaming. So if you live in a condo, it's actually much easier to get rid of a girl who refuses to leave. If you do go that route, make sure you are in good terms with security. When I lived in a condo in Cebu City, I used to buy security pizza at least once a week. I never had any of these type of problems. However, it's always a good idea to be on good terms with security and the staff. Another person I know actually had a live-in girlfriend, and while on a boys' trip, he met a different girl that he fell head over heels for. Now, I would not recommend this solution as I think it's rather cruel. Not something I would personally ever have done or ever would do. Anyway, he took the new girl home and told his living girlfriend that this new girl was his new girlfriend, and if she did not like it, she could just move out. It only took about a month, if I remember correctly, for the old living girlfriend to move out. Like I said, this is absolutely something I would not recommend, as this can lead to multiple complications and bad stuff can happen. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens here in the Philippines. The best thing you can do is to be empathetic, but also know your rights. So at the end of this vlog, I wanted to talk about what you can do if you make the mistake of moving in someone too fast and decide she needs to leave. If you're in a condo, well, that is simple. Just call security if they refuse to leave. Now, if you live in a place with no security, basically that's everything else besides a condo, then you will have to negotiate with her. In many cases, you will basically have to pay her to leave. Maybe you can find her one of those places that just rent out a room. They are usually a lot less than $100, and pay for 1 to 3 months for her. Give her some extra money for food as well as electricity. So all in all, this should cost you a lot less than $500. How much you support her really depends on what she gave up to be with you, right? Did she move in from another island? Did she move from a different city? Did she give up a job to be with you? How long were you guys together? Of course, all these variables depend on how much you should support her. And also, please try to be as empathetic as you can. And by the way, you should even do this even if you live in a condo, even though you don't really have to. I would recommend it. Also, very important, if you have a crazy one that you've moved in, get one of those hidden cams just to ensure that your rights are protected, just in case you end up on the wrong side of the law with false allegations of violence from you to her. At least you have video evidence to show that this didn't happen. Hey, if you have watched all the way to the end, I have not a recommendation, but a suggestion that you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And as I always say, sharing is good, and sharing my videos are wonderful. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you've learned something from it. And if you have, please share, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.